Welcome to the Journal of Biophilic Design podcast. Thanks for joining us on the Journal of Biophilic Design podcast today. We have an interesting edition this time. It was recorded live at the Workspace Design Show held at the Business Design Centre in London in February, where I was chairing a panel with Enrique Soler, who's head of design at Wilmot Dixon Interiors, Oliver Heath of Oliver Heath Design, Dominic Dugan, creative director of Octra, and Sheila Shukla, interior design director at BDP. We were discussing activating the senses to transform the workplace experience and create a more holistic and engaging workspace. But that was in the afternoon. In the morning and around lunchtime, I caught up with a few exhibitors and visitors at the show to find out a little bit more about what biophilic design meant for them. We're joined by Ashton Holmes, Senior Product Designer at Peldon Rose, Nikos Papapetrou of Sheppard Robson, Gurvinder Khurana, and also Martina Bazzoni of M Moser, Gillam, who's Senior Associate at Hawley, and also Emma Douglas of Ryder Interiors. I asked each of them, first of all, to introduce themselves and to tell us about what they did.
My name is Ashton Holmes and I'm a senior project designer at the company Peldon Rose. So I look after the SME team, which is a small to medium market, and we look at workspaces from 2,000 up to 8,000 square foot in my team. I'm a designer, so I take a space from a Cat A and I turn it into a beautiful Cat B, a destination for our clients.
So I'm Nikos Papapetrou. I am interior designer. I work for Sheppard Robson. And Sheppard Robson is an architectural company with interior design section. So we do interior design for workspaces. And yeah, we try to shape the future of workspace, but at the same time combine it with what we do for buildings as architects.
So my name's Gillam. I'm a lighting designer at Hawley. And so we are a multidisciplinary engineering firm. So we do a little bit of everything. So we do MEP, we do acoustics, AV, sustainability, carbon management, lighting, and much, much, much more.
My name's Gurvinder Khurana. I'm a director at M Moser Associates. I'm based in London and operating across EMEA is my role. But as a business, we're global. We sit in across, I think we have 28 offices at the moment around the globe, sort of across Asia, North America and EMEA. We are what I would call an architectural engineering and construction company. So we have a big architectural and engineering arm. We build the ideas that we create and the sort of happy spaces that we position for people. But we're very, very focused on human-centered design. And that's really the core of everything that we do, is about responding to people and how people feel in spaces. But in that we also have an architectural team and therefore we also build buildings.
I'm Martina Bazzoni. I'm an interior designer at M Moser as well. I focus primarily right now on London projects. Sometimes something pops up that is within Europe as well.
So my name's Emma Douglas. I'm a senior interior designer at Ryder. So we're based in Newcastle and London. So my day-to-day is effectively just designing interiors, mostly workplace interiors, which is why I'm here, for lots of different brands like Bupa, Sage, Home Group, people like that. So really, really big workplaces.
I also asked them, how are you finding the Workspace Design Show? What were they there for, and any highlights?
To me, it's important to be here to showcase not only products like the rest of the show, I think, but also what we can do as designers, how an office can look like, how an office space can look like without being necessarily really, really rigid. That was my drive during this project, showcasing how nice they can be and how human they can be without compromising on the function of it.
So I think it's important for a number of reasons. I mean, I've been in the industry too many years now, over 20 years. And it's the first show that really focuses on workplace. I think there are a lot of other shows that pick up on a whole breadth of product and conversation across hospitality retail. But this is the only one that really focuses on workplace, and that's really special. So we've been a keen advocate and supporter ever since it started 3 years ago.
So I think it's always good for designers to come in and visit shows like this, especially the Workspace Design Show, to see what's new, to see, to listen to the talks and hear what the people are saying about our industry. But specifically what we're doing here, this year we were asked to design the mood board contest area. So you can see we've kind of blended in this alien environment using moss and graphic walls, so to really create a different space. So Workspace Design Show in particular is important for our company at Powden Rose. As workspace designer, it is targeted towards our niche. We're seeing exactly what our clients want. We're seeing new products, new furniture, new surfaces, so it's all geared towards what we do specifically. So it's a nice tailor-made show for us.
Yeah, so actually we got asked by the Society of Lighting and Lighting to come and do an installation, and funnily enough, we didn't really do a lighting exhibition. What we wanted to do was to create a piece of, I've been calling it edutainment, for the people at the show to learn more about the built environment and the choices that we make every day. So we've created a little game which you wake up, you go to the office, you sit in the office, and all the different choices you make add up to a score, telling you about kind of what agency we really have over the choices throughout our days.
It's an industry that keeps changing. So many things are keep coming new every year. Sustainability is a huge thing now, so we have these new materials that just come out every year that is made of something that we never thought we could do before. So it's very important for us to know what's out there and work. We as interior designers, we have to work with suppliers and product designers. We have to have a connection with them, because if we don't, then we don't know what's out there. So that's why it's important to be here.
So I've been here a couple of hours so far and looked around some of the stalls. We've actually designed one of the stages this year, the one at the front of the space, the Wave Lounge. So it was great to see that come to life, and I'm going to host a panel tomorrow about workspace communities. So we were given the brief of Activate the Senses, which is the brief of the show this year. And one of the things that we thought was somewhere where your senses are really heightened is when you're at the beach. And we sort of played on that playful idea of how you feel at the beach. The chap who actually led the design for us in the early stages is Australian, so the beach is really, really important to him. But we brought our kind of Britishness into that as well. So you'll see kind of the waves of the fabrics, the carpets inspired by the sand, and if you go and visit it, there's some sweets.
For each of these visitors, sustainability, regenerative design, and of course biophilic design was really important to them. And I asked them why that was.
So biophilic design can help, is a big step in achieving a sustainable design. It's helping with that. If you don't, then if you don't have anything biophilic in your design, it's probably not sustainable, because sustainability is not just about the materials you use, where they come from. It's about how you make people forget about that. It's about how you make people feel. And we are humans. We have to have some connection to nature. We have to have all that. Otherwise, you are not really sustainable, in my opinion.
So biophilic design for me is really important, because of even at home for myself, I notice how having plants around me lifts and elevates my mood. But in the design world, especially workspace design, I think it really helps, again, elevate that space. It helps bring an audience together. It helps enlighten how we feel within that space. But it's also bringing a dynamic. It's not necessarily a material that needs to be applied to a wall, but it's a movable plant that grows, or it could be preserved. So it's a nice element to have within a workspace.
Well, I mean, I think that we've now just started to take a focus back onto reconnecting with nature, right? So we've read the studies about being out in nature, lowering your heart rate, making you less prone to disease. But realistically, from a lighting design perspective, it's about being outside. Like, honestly, my job is to compel you to go outside as much as humanly possible. I don't want you to be in the beautifully lit spaces I've designed you to be in, really. I want you to go out at lunch. I want you to wake up in the morning and open your blinds. I want you to walk to work if you can. Lighting design for us is a lot less about creating a beautiful space that you want to be in all day. It's obviously that, but it is much more about reminding you about the holistic effect of an environment around you and what you can do in your daily life to get more water, air, nutrients, all the pillars of wellness in what you're doing, and we are just a small part of that. And I think that's really what we want to kind of reinforce when we talk about biophilia.
I think biophilic design has been important for a long time. Certainly we've talked about it as a practice. I mean, as a practice we've been in existence over 42 years now. I've been working, as I say, for over 20, and I've been talking about it all of my career. It's not just about planting and about greenery, which is what a lot of people think it is. It's about materiality, it's about nature, and it's about our human connection with nature. We are over 70% water, aren't we, as human beings? And it resonates with us, and that's really important to how we feel when we're in spaces and that whole connection.
I think for me, adding to that is also to future-proof the whole planet, really, as much as we can, even in our little parts, to make sure that we have a good life ahead of us, and to make sure that we're sustaining what we have and making it flourish as much as we can. So it's not just about regulations, it's not just about ticking the boxes of sustainability, of certifications. It's a lot more than that. It's about looking between the grey zone of all those certifications and finding things that actually work for that purpose. To make sure that maintaining the human race,
the planet.
And also making sure that people enjoy the spaces that they are in. That's what it is for me.
I think ultimately we need to secure our future. It's really, really important that we do that. I think it's about the now, so it's about feeling healthy and happy where we live and work, but it's also about making sure that we can still create those environments for years and years to come. So with biophilic design, really try to integrate that into all of my projects. There's massive mental health benefits for people in spaces with biophilia around them, but also, trying to kind of think about the big picture as well.
I also asked them if they had examples which they could share with us, which illustrated how biophilic design, sustainable design was having a positive impact on the space and the people using it.
Yes, actually my first Workspace project, which I did 3-4 years ago, was fully sustainable. We had this client who had to move to a new building, and the building was existing, and the tenant who left a lot of things there that we could reuse. So we managed to reuse 60% of the services that they were already there, 60% of the furniture. We took all the elements that they were there and we could reuse for our client, the new client, completely different business. So we had to find out what's there, how we can reuse it, what we can change, make adjustments to make them work for a new space, but also make it feel brand new. And at the same time, not make it feel like it's compromising because it has existing elements. We wanted to actually emphasize on that. And it was one of the proudest moments for me, and kind of made me feel like I can keep doing that, It was my first experience doing that, and now I want to keep doing it again and again and again. And it actually opened a lot of doors for me, because a lot of people now in the industry are looking for that. So they're looking for people with experience that have done this in the past, because it might sound simple, but it's not. It's a lot of logistics. You have to still get your accreditations, and you have to get all that stuff still. But you have to take it with existing elements, and there's no warranties, you miss all that. We also give away things to charity that we don't need to, like let's say a desk is too big for the new tenant, we are not going to throw away the desk, so we give this to schools. So it's a huge impact just by doing that.
Sounds so simple, doesn't it?
It is. It's not simple though, it's very tricky, and I think it's something we need to improve on. We need platforms. As interior designers, we need tools that will enable us to do that easier, because it's quite tricky. And I think a lot of people are not doing that because of how tricky it is.
Yes, I think probably the most important thing to say is that put some plants in it, it'll be fine. Don't just chuck a tree in the atrium if you want it to be a biophilic space. So I can speak probably a little bit less knowledgeably on the subject than some of my colleagues, because again, we have about 20 different sub-disciplines. But we have an air quality team that goes through and does surveys, and they ensure that in every space that we're going into is that we're not harming any of the residents that are going to be there or the workers. We have an acoustics team that goes in and they ensure that any of the noise levels from the tube or the street or from nearby residents, that's not going to affect them. And we ensure that there's enough daylight access. So, and more and more and more and more. So really what we try and do in most of our projects, I can't pick a specific one because it's not coming to mind, is to ensure that kind of all parts of the human experience in the built environment are accounted for and are truly designed with them in mind.
Yeah, so an interesting project I designed recently was for VaynerMedia, and actually within ironically their toilets, they wanted a bit more of an Instagrammable moment, a bit of an excitement. So we actually turned their entire ceiling into this moss kind of jungle, so it's kind of falling down with a disco ball in there. So it's a really cool moment, an Instagrammable moment, but it has that sense of the plants taking over the space, which was really nice.
Sustainability, biophilia, reuse, they're all connected really, and I think it's an interdependent element of design. And I think to that, what I would say as an example is, and it's the first one that jumps to my head because it ticks a lot of those boxes actually, is our Amsterdam studio, our living lab in Amsterdam, which is, I think, really quite special, and it does really harbour all of those things that we talk about with feeling, because it's an old building that's been breathed life into over and over again, and it's currently our studio. It's got a history of the piano to it, and you see that in elements that we've retained. So we've sort of purposed that building. And then the materials are all very biophilic considered. So there's timbers, there's natural materials, and then the planting strategy again on top of that. So the colour palette, all echoes those things. And I think it's how you bring that together. And it's a real success in our Amsterdam Living Lab. I'd love to show it you at some point. Yeah.
I think sometimes biophilic design can be quite simple. It doesn't necessarily need to be like the presence of biophilia, but actually just the shapes that we use, and creating smooth forms makes people feel better rather than kind of sharp and harsh shapes. So I think we do try to bring that into spaces when we're thinking about spaces for people's well-being and people's health, trying to make those spaces feel calm. Inherently, I think we use more like soft shapes, perhaps in the furniture that we select and things like that. And I don't think it has to be a case of just putting a plant in there. It's about more than that. We have done an awful lot of projects recently with quite high sustainability criteria. So I recently did a university project where we achieved SCAR Gold, and there was a lot of kind of sustainability criteria we needed to hit with that. So in the background, the actual, the products themselves generally come from kind of natural resource and things like that. What we've tried to do though is make sure that people can see the biophilia as well. So we've done kind of big green walls, and that university project has a lovely big green wall in the cafe. And we've also tried to use natural materials everywhere we can. So it's good for people to see those natural textures. It makes people happy.
So a really wide mix of replies there. But then I asked also, so why actually do we need better design in the workspace?
In my opinion, if you're gonna make people wake up every day, get on the tube, get on the train, leave their family, leave their pets, leave whatever they feel like that makes them feel like home, you have to also provide something to them. You have those people there every day for 8 hours. You have to provide them with what they need. And one design does not work for everybody, so you have to know what works for them. So you have to keep doing research, and you have to keep learning, and you have to keep asking them what they want, because it's not really about you, it's about them. So I think it's really, really important to keep improving. I've been in the industry for 10 years, and I feel like I'm learning every day. And by that, it means therefore I'm also improving how I'm designing myself, but also I think the same thing applies to other interior designers as well.
We need better design because it is a vast majority of where we actually spend our time every single day. It's not just about the fruit on the table or the pizza on the Friday. It's about, is it supporting me to make my job as enjoyable as possible so that I can give back to the company as well. And it goes back to like, it's not just about ticking boxes, it's about making sure that we're investigating how people feel in the space currently that they are in, and how can we improve it so they can also give it their best and they don't want to leave the company that they are working for. So it's something that not only is not just the aesthetic point of view, it's really deeply rooted in how people feel and how people behave. I think also the best design sometimes is invisible. You don't notice that it's there. You experience it more than you see it.
If I was going to add anything to that, I wholeheartedly agree. I think that we do spend an awful lot of time working, and you know, the industry and the way that our behaviours towards design has changed in the last 25 years is monumental. It's like moving mountains. And I think we've finally understood that if you want to be a profitable business, you need to invest in your people and in the space that they're in. And ultimately, whether we like it or not, it is a business. And so it is about getting the best out of your people, and your people are only going to give you their best if they are happy and if they feel valued. And I think that is a lot of what we do. And as Martina says, it's about the invisible elements that come from that design that we create. The essence of the feelings, the intuitive behaviours that we encourage, without people really understanding that that's how we have designed it. That's the true success of workplace design, and I think the fact that that is now recognised is really exciting. Because when I entered the industry, it wasn't. So, yeah.
I think why? Because who wants to be stuck in a 1980s style office with very small windows and, you know, those 600 by 600 tiles overhead and a glaringly awful computer screen and bad ergonomics? I mean, we need good workspace design because we unfortunately spend more time in the workplace than we do at home. Well, now it's a bit different, obviously, because many of us work from home. But we really have to remember, it's like buying a good mattress, right? You buy a good mattress because you spend, a third of your life in bed. You want to be in a well-designed workplace because you spend a third of your day in that workspace. So realistically, it's just another part of ensuring that you are enabling yourself to have the best experience of the built environment that you can. And hopefully your employer also believes that. And you have a good design team around you to facilitate that.
I think the workspace has been through a lot in the past few years, and I think the workspace really has to sell itself now. Obviously we all went through a period of working from home, and I think a lot of people still choose that, and our workspaces need to work a bit harder to encourage people to use them, but also to make it really worth being there. And I think there's an aesthetic part to that, in that people want to work in spaces that look nice. But I also think one of the more important things is the functional aspect of it, and people coming to work for a reason to collaborate with people, or to actually get some quiet time. Perhaps home isn't quiet, and I think that's the real challenge of workplace design at the moment, is to create all those different environments for those different people.
Better design helps to keep people within the workspace. I think where we are kind of moving from this, fixed workspace to hybrid, and hybrid back to fixed, I think it's about encouraging and empowering people that, who are working in that space. So especially if you're looking at neurodivergence, we want to create a menu of spaces for them to work in. If we're embodying plants within the space, it's helping to elevate and lift people's moods. So design is super important for workspaces, for people to be happy.
And then, of course, I had to ask, didn't I, the final question that I ask everybody who comes on this podcast. If you could paint the world with a magic brush of biophilia, what would it look like? And this is what they said.
Oh, wow. Okay. So if I could paint the world with a magic brush with biophilia, I think it would be, well, like my garden, so filled with these kind of black and purplish alien-looking plants. And I would love to have an orangery with just a glass ceiling and feel like I'm in my own personal jungle. So that would be my world.
I'd like to hope that it wasn't just on the surface. I'd like to hope that the the kind of the structure and the fuel behind it all came from those biophilic principles as well. So perhaps most of it wouldn't be that visual, you know, most of it would be like kind of, you peel back the layers and it's there.
I think I would paint it back with communities. I would put communities back in our life. I feel it really strongly when I go back home to Italy, small town, and it disappears when I come back to London. And I can see how happy my family is over there because they have each other, they have their own community, and it's something that makes a big difference within biophilia. I feel that is part of it as well. It's not just about green, as you said. Yeah. So I would do that. Yeah.
Mine would require a really big magic paintbrush. I think what I would really dearly love to see, or to be able to do if I could do that, is to paint back in the Amazon. All the elements that have been farmed intensively and taken away, the lungs of our planet, breaks my heart, actually. And I think if I had that magic paintbrush, I'd paint those back in.
I think I'd
want to reforest everything that we've ruined in the last 200-300 years. Not a lighting design answer, but that's my true hope.
I think I would like to make it. I would like to make where we work and where we're living an extension of what's outside. I want to feel. Do you get my point? I want to make it feel like that. I want it. It's not just about how green it is, but also how it feels. I want to make the outside an extension of the inside. And logistically, it's tricky, but it's a paintbrush, and I can do whatever I want.
Thank you for listening to the Journal of Biophilic Design podcast.